This is turning into a big and monumental embarrassment for Nigeria. This Zongshan Fuceng company, this Chinese company, is beginning to embarrass Nigeria beyond measures. And all this is the fault of who? Who do we blame? Is it the Ogun State government or is it the federal government of Nigeria? Before we even talk about who to blame, let's even understand this problem. How did it happen that something that Ogun State is found guilty of, not even guilty now, is involved in, is affecting Nigeria as a country? Why? How is that even possible? Why is it that the immunity clause that the federal government pushed was not accepted by the US, Canadian, and French courts? Why was it not accepted? Let's try to understand this. Our leaders must now realize that the foolishness of yesterday can come and bite you in the behind today. The lack of understanding of these bilateral agreements that you enter into is no excuse when the consequences stare you in the face and they come back to haunt you. This is what exactly is happening. It is clear now that our leaders do not understand the new international rules-based system set up by the IMF and the World Bank. International rules-based system. This system has structures in place, legal structures, that do not care about the sovereignty of countries. In fact, way back 1980, in the United States of America, a US congressman was interviewed, Congressman Larry McDonnell, and he said in very clear terms, and nobody has disputed what he said. This is information in public domain. He said that the IMF and the World Bank were set up to dissolve sovereignties of countries and to bring about the transfer of wealth of countries from those countries to the elite countries of the global north, beneficiaries of the new rules-based or international rules-based system. That is exactly why the IMF and the World Bank were set up. And the structures through which this is achieved include the ISDS system, Investor State Dispute Settlement System, ISDS, Bilateral Investment Treaty structure, BITs. And then you have the court that actually bring about this, the International Center for the Settlement of Investor State Dispute, ICSID. Now, these structures exist to achieve one goal only, to empower multinational corporations to have power over sovereign countries. And once that is achieved, they dissolve the sovereignty of countries. That is why when Nigeria went to appeal the court ruling that seized 3 of our aircraft, we were told that sovereign immunity does not matter in commercial ventures. Because this is how ICSID operates. This is how IMF and the World Bank operates. This is how they dissolve sovereignties of countries. They will seize more things. We have heard from France, they have gone to Canada, they have gone to UK. In UK, they seized our guest house. In Canada, we are hearing now that a former jet that was seized from former minister, Danny Titi, is been seized by Zongshan Fuceng. This is becoming a national embarrassment. For those of you who didn't understand when we were shouting about the dangers of caving to IMF, the dangers of dancing to the tune of the IMF and the World Bank, this is it. It's unfortunate that our leaders don't understand. In fact, it is embarrassing that you even have some lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria, they don't even know about this. So when you have even senior advocates that are unaware of this new international rules-based system, of the operations of the ISDS, the BIT, and the ICSID system, when they are unaware of it, how do they tackle it? Somebody is asking, oh, but it's Ogun State that has the issue. How does it concern Nigeria? Let me tell you something. Foreign loans and treaties are in the exclusive legislative lists. Go and check it. Exclusive legislative list. This means that, in case, for those who do not understand it, before any state governor or any state governor goes into a free trade zone treaty arrangement or goes into taking loans, the federal government must be made aware, because the debt management office is responsible for making sure or for facilitating such loans. So everything goes through Nigeria. So if the state default, it's Nigeria that will be held responsible. Nigeria is like the guarantor. So they are liable. You can't say it's because the state or Ogun State is the one that is involved in this treaty or this bilateral trade agreement, then Nigeria is absorbed from it. It is not. And it is time that our leaders understood this. It is high time they understood this. It is time Nigerians understood this, so we can know how to scrutinize our leaders before we elect them. Now, the IMF and the World Bank, when they give you loan, they don't give you this loan to benefit you. We were all here in Africa when the president of Uganda, Museveni, spoke about how the IMF and the World Bank will never give you a loan that will help you develop. They will only give you a loan that will help their own country develop. And if you have watched the Confession of the Economic Hitman by John Perkins, you will see that it's exactly the same thing that he said. That when the IMF arranges a loan, they arrange it and they are ready to force that loan on governments whose leaders are compromised. They are ready to force it either by threatening them with guns, threatening them with regime change, threatening them with coups, threatening them with destabilization of their countries using protests or riots. It's either they threaten them with that, or they threaten them, or they give them money. Corruption, they corrupt them. It's one of those. So when they come with those loans, and those countries have leaders that are compromised, there's little or nothing such leaders can do. And when they take those loans, guess what? The loans actually don't go to those countries. If you take an IMF loan, check it. They will always be the one to determine what to use those loans for. They will always be. And usually, the implementation of those loans goes to benefit their own corporations back in the US-led West or any other countries that can cash in on this new international rules-based system. So when they give you a loan, they make sure that what you want to buy with that loan is provided by a corporation in their country. So that way the loan actually never gets to you. And the percentage that comes, it will be corruptly stolen by these same corrupt leaders. And when such monies are stolen, guess what? Those monies are not saved locally in local banks. They are saved abroad in the international bank, in their own banks. So whether from the front or from the back, the IMF benefits from these things. And our leaders don't know it, and Nigerians don't know it, and we continue to suffer from it. It is time we begin to take and hold our leaders accountable. It is time we began to understand the true effect of the IMF and World Bank in our country about the loans that they give us. Now we hear that the Chinese investor takes over another 57 million Nigerian government private jets seized from ex-minister Danny Tete. They've taken it over. You see, Zongshan Fuceng Industrial Investment Company Limited, a Chinese company, has successfully repossessed a private jet valued at $57 million from Nigeria or from Nigerian government. This development comes after a Canadian court ruled in favor of Zongshan Fuceng, granting the company permission to seize the aircraft from Nigeria. The court granted orders to Zongshan to seize the plane earlier this year, but the change of custody from Nigeria to Zongshan was only recently concluded. This is an embarrassment. This is an embarrassment, and it must not be allowed to continue. All of these actually makes necessary one thing, because we can keep complaining all we want. These leaders will continue to do what they do. They are taking it for granted. They don't understand international law. They don't understand the international workings of the IMF and the World Bank. They are quick to go to IMF and World Bank and bring this kind of embarrassment to us. Nigeria and Nigerians, this is a call, is a clarion call for us to sit up and organize. These people, they will continue to do what they are doing. They don't care about us. They will continue to do these things. They will continue to do it unless we take action. Like I said before, the time has come for us to begin to take action by way of using the Freedom of Information Act and by way of doing petitions. These things that we are seeing with Zongshan Fuceng can happen to us by the international IOCs. Many people don't understand this. And it's because of the actions of our leaders. These actions are what is responsible for the high price that we're paying for petrol today in Nigeria and the devaluation of our naira, the suffering that we are going through, the corruption that is so palpable in the NNPC, the darkness that goes on in there. These are the things that are responsible for it. And we need to begin to hold these people accountable. The time for us to take action is now. Let's take this action.